Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive #1, #2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. This is your daily pep talk. I know it's been rough going ever since people found out about your a cappella group, Mad Harmony, but you will bounce back. I mean, you're the guy always helping people find coverage options with the Name Your Price tool. It should be you giving me the pep talk. Now get out there, hit that high note, and take Mad Harmony all the way to nationals this year! Sorry, it's pitchy.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
It's a revolution, Jimmy. The American dream is just that. Just a dream. War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank. This is our war. And this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio! The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome to Sacred Matrix, a divine paradigm of love and universal consciousness, with your host, Janet Kira Lessin and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Together, we transform the world.
And now, here are your hosts, Janet Kira and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Aloha. Welcome to, where are we? We are on the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio at revolution.radio, and my name is Janet Kira Lessin. I'm your host with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin, and we're going to have a panel discussion today with Jim Ledwith, known as UFO Jim, and Len Kasten. And that sound you hear is our producer, Thomas Becker, a mad painter. He's trying to get everybody on board. And let's see. I'll tell you a little bit about Jim and Len, and then we'll get them on board. Sasha, are you there? Okay.
He hasn't answered yet.
He hasn't answered yet. Okay. Let's see. I don't know what's going on. Just say something real quick, and I'll poke my head around and tell him that maybe he's doing something. Hold on.
We're having a little bit of a problem connecting with people today. Skype is what it is. So
your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message.
This thing up, okay.
No, you're not on Skype or something.
Hello?
We're live, and you're not on.
Oh, okay, I'm not on.
Why are you not on?
I don't know, Janet. I thought I was on.
Okay.
All right, let me work on the sound thing over here.
Yeah, you got to pay attention to what you're doing here.
The sound's on.
Well,
Hello?
Did he pick up?
Testing.
Okay, Sasha, you there? Okay, good. Sorry about that, everybody.
Jim is here. I'm still trying to get Len.
Okay, I'll text Len. So, Jim Ledwith is a UFO researcher. He has been for over 45 years. He's known as UFO Jim, and he is Sonoma's residential ufologist. Oh, try his Skype, because that is showing on this.
Okay,
Len, are
here
you there?
now I when I took your microphone off, it started working again. Now I'm talking to the computer. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, I think you had it in the wrong post. Okay, so
No.
I'm trying to read this bio here. So just bear with me. Let's see, where was I? Oh, let's see. Anyway, UFO Jim's going to be on. He's a frequent guest on many radio shows and on ETs, and he's an instructor. Of a popular, well-attended annual class at Sonoma Community Center on alien encounters.
Oh.
And he gets all these films. Hi, is this Len?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Len. Just bear with us one moment. We're doing a little intro, and then we'll pull you on. Okay? So.
Okay. I hope my microphone's working okay. It should. I had a problem with it last time, but we'll see. What?
It's sounding great. It's sounding great.
Yeah.
And
on this phone, yeah. I hope it's okay on Skype, though. Oh, you're going to put me on this phone or on Skype?
Since you answered the phone, just be on the phone for now. We'll pull you in on Skype at the break, okay?
Okay, I'll stay on the phone, okay?
Yeah, just stay on the phone. Okay. And let's see. Sasha, what would you like to say about today's show? We're going to be talking about Planet Serpo, which is one of the books that Len has written, and it's called Secret Journey to Planet Serpo, a true story of interplanetary travel. It was published in May of 2013, and he has a later book called Alien World Order, the Reptilian Plan to Divide and Conquer the Human Race. We're going to be talking about that. UFO Jim, are you on board with us?
I am on board.
Hello. Hey, we beamed everybody up. All righty. So, Sasha, what would you like to say? And then we'll start the discussion here.
Okay, well, first, Jim, like us, is listen to everybody's story, and we like our brains have sifted out patterns, and we understand what's happening. And for anybody, and Len too, for any of us in this field, the evidence is so overwhelming, and we don't know what it is that it takes for the general public to understand that our country has been infiltrated and controlled by the Nazis who have a terrible agenda for us, and is so well documented. And listen to the documentation, then tell other people what you're going to learn today.
So we'll start with Jim, because when I set up this show, Jim said that he has some research on, and the first half will focus on Serpo, and then at the break we'll come back and focus on the overview of the whole picture. So go ahead, Jim. Tell us about your research and what you discovered, and then we'll go to Len.
Well, first I want to compliment you to have Len on board. Nice having you, Len. We haven't talked for about a month.
I know, Jim. Nice talking with you again. Yes, I recall our last conversation.
Yes. So it was really interesting researching Serpo. And thanks to Len's fabulous books. Not good, fabulous. Fabulous books.
Thank you.
That I was so blown away by his research. I mean, my God, I can't know where he got the time to do this. But his secret journey to Planet Serpo is out of the water. My favorite book, though, he has 3 books. My favorite book, and I told him this he's on board now. He's going to agree or disagree. I've always said to him, I love the secret history of extraterrestrials.
Yeah, I'm glad you like that. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. The rest of
it's one of my favorites too.
Good. So my research was interesting, and it started in 1978 with the release of the film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I really didn't understand in the movie why they had these bits and pieces of these 12, for the sake of a better term, astronauts, military people, in the movie. They were in the movie in the beginning, sitting in an audience of military people, government people. And then, of course, they were dressed in the orange jumpsuit heading on out to Serpo. So I thought something's up with this. And then I read Len's book. And I just, my God, we've had this program. That's because it's a secret space program. But I can't believe that they showed it to us through Steven Spielberg. They dangled it in front of us, and of course we didn't pick up on it. I mean, if you're in the know, whatever that means, you're a little more ahead of the curve. But most people wouldn't put two and two together. Just some guys going off, 10 men, 2 women, going off to planet Serpo or wherever they were going, and Richard Dreyfuss, Mr. Neary, heading off with them. So that was my beginning with the journey to a planet Serpo. And basically it was for me in limbo for years. Couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. No response from Steven Spielberg. Just confusion until Len's book. And then it all came together. As a matter of fact, I'll take it one step further. If you want to see a real extraterrestrial on film, go to Serpo 1.2. Go to minute 8.5, 8:30, and watch it. It's the real deal. The real deal.
Okay, so this is a YouTube?
Yes. Just put in Project Serpo.
Okay, it's called...
Project Serpo.
Okay,
just Serpo.
Yeah.
Serpo 1.2.
Okay, I'll get that. Go ahead, continue.
Okay, then you go to minute number 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Just go there.
Okay.
And then you enjoy it. It's only about a half a minute, but you're going to see film. You're going to see an actual being, head to toe shot, a hand moving, and then them walking around, 2 or 3 of them. Now, in my opinion, it was either done at Los Alamos in the 50s and possibly in Russia. But I would say Los Alamos. That's just my guess. I don't know what Len thinks about that, but anyway, that's my opinion.
Now, which video are we talking about, Jim?
It is a film on YouTube, and it's about Serpo.
Okay.
There's 2 of them. There's 1.2, and then there is 2.2. 2.2 tells the story. 1.2 tells somewhat the story, but it's got this phenomenal film. My God, to do this, to take it, especially years ago. I mean, you'd need millions to put this together. And there it is, in plain sight, where the things are most likely hidden.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Go
ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
No. So,
let me just say one thing. This is Sasha. For the general listener who's coming in the middle of this, this journey to Serpo, the whole episode shows that we have friends among the Zeta Reticulate Greys, who and we've had peaceful inception of friendly extraterrestrials. And so let me just give that hint as we go on with this discussion.
That's okay. No, you're right. And as Len's book points out, it's been an ongoing relationship. As recently as I think 2012 or thereabouts on Johnston Island was the last time we had contact.
Right, that was the last one, I believe. Yeah, 2012.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened on Johnston Atoll? Because I was stationed there. I actually met the Zeta Reticuli on Johnston Atoll. I was taken to the underground base then. So what happened in 2012? I know. That
that's right. I forgot about that, Janet. Janet, you've been there, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I was to the underground base.
Really?
The underground installation. Yes, and I saw the 3 different size grays, and the real tall, like a mantis gray mix. It was different looking, and then I was taken to a ritual, and there were about 1,000 Anunnaki, and then there was a very, very gigantic reptilian dragon. It was actually the size of a dragon, way like the mother. It was the mother dragon of the earth, like the ruling dragon of all the dragons, of all the reptilians. So I got to see it all, and that's because I'm a contact the experiencer. And I was researching the O negative blood, which I have O negative blood. And how do you know you're one of these? Well, there's an M on my right hand. I was looking at it, I go, whoa, definitely an M, very distinct. O negative blood, a lot of characteristics. So apparently they've been monitoring this O negative blood, and I don't want to go too much into it, but that might be why they took me down for this ritual, because I was part of this bloodline. Okay, but back to
I understand that there's more of Johnston Island is more under the water than on top of the water. That it's a huge. Yes. The base is really under the water, and it is actually visible. You can see into the water. That's where the base really is.
Do you have videos of that or pictures of that? I'd like to put that on here.
It's like Diego Rivera. It's the same idea, same exact thing.
Yeah, but where did you see a YouTube on that, or how do you know that?
Yeah, I believe it was YouTube. It was very distinct. You could see the base because the water is very transparent there, so it's very, very clear. Right. It's a huge base. What's on top of the water is only about the size of an aircraft carrier. Right.
And that's where I was stationed. If I'll pull a picture of that, where the water gets really dark, that's where they took me down to the shore, and then a smaller craft came out of the water. I was being carried by 6 Grays, 6 military accompanied me. My boyfriend was brought down from the other direction, and they loaded us on the craft, and they took us to the underwater base.
What year was that, Janet?
I was on Johnson Hotel from, let's see, when did I come here, honey? I've been here 20 years, so I came here in 2007. Or no, sorry, I came in 1997. Yeah, we met in 97, right, honey? So, it was, I was stationed there from 95 to spring of 97, like February of 97.
Okay. That was before the last visit by the Evans. They came back after that. They came back again after that.
Okay, so you'll have to tell us about where do you get this information? That's interesting, very interesting.
What's the content? What's the content of the?
Yeah, what did they do?
Yeah.
What at that last meeting?
Right.
Yeah.
That was the one that we opened it up. We opened it up to a Vatican representative, to UN people. We opened it wide open to China, Russia, the Vatican, and other countries, and other State Department representatives. So at that point, we opened it up, and we made it known to all of those other groups.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So they've been keeping it secret just like we have, and I think the problem here is that the only reason we were given this information is because it was in the hands of the DIA and not the CIA. Because if it was in the hands of the CIA, the Nazi element would never have allowed this. So it was fortunate, and Spielberg was brought into it because they knew he would do something with it.
Wow. So that, you know, to get the bigger picture, we can't really, the Serpo thing is the Serpo saved us for a while from the Nazi, Allen Dulles and the Nazis who he brought over for paperclip and stuff. And Kennedy had tried to get out through MJ-12 whistleblowers and other means, and especially through the information that was supposed to be free now. The fact that there are white hats, that we do have these allies, but we've been taken over by the Nazis. And that's the context you've got to see the Serpo thing in. It's very important. We have friends that are trying to save us from this awful thing that we're caught in now.
Right, exactly. And that was an example of that. With the Serpo story is an example of that. And that's why Anonymous wanted to make it public, because he was aware of all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so they opened this up, and they had, I know that Sala reported that in 2009 there was a meeting. It was on one of the, you know, the island is really tiny. It's not very fancy. They've removed most of the buildings. They left the, what was that building called? The JOC. It was a big square box. They left that up, but it's apparently been gutted. There's different fishing crews or people on boats that make it there, and they've got some the cover story now that's being preserved for wildlife. There's a lot of birds there. It's a huge bird sanctuary. When I was stationed there, I wasn't in the military, I was a civilian. You know, you had to be careful where you walked because you would walk on baby birds. It was amazing. And then I had another fellow that does the HARP, and he verified that there's an underground insulation. He said that it goes 13, it was, I think, 13 floors down. I have to look up his name. I'm drawing a blank right. Hayes or something like that, Hayes. And so he sent me a picture. He said, no, it's occupied again, and there's a new building. And he said, yeah, we put up some new buildings, and if you go down by what we call the shark chute, after, you know, they ship everything in, and, you know, they would have these big mess hall dinners and leftovers, and they would just take all leftovers and go down to the end of the island and toss it in through the shark chute. And there were sharks. There were thousands of sharks, because they got fed steak and all kinds of stuff. So he said, down by there's an entrance. That part of the island, you couldn't go there because it was civilians were not allowed past there. Only, you know, people with a really top secret clearance could go past the one point of the island. And the cover story was they had a chemical weapons plant where they were disassembling the weapons into their elements and neutralizing them. But when I was there, the Russians came. They had a couple mock war games, and one had the Russians. It was definitely international. I was just
that must have been the one I was talking about then. No, that was earlier. Well, it was earlier than that.
Well, that was in the 90. I was there from 95 to 97. So we would have different countries come and visit the facility. And they had this whole cover story, but they were probably, now that I'm thinking back, they were probably going to the underground installation. But they would come out to we had a restaurant, not a restaurant, like a bar, and we had karaoke, you know, a place where the civilians could gather and the military could gather, and you had some entertainment. So you would see them coming through, all these different people from all over the planet coming through. And so the cover story does fit. They were coming to just, you know, see this chemical plant. They were coming for the underground base. That don't make sense. It made no sense back then.
But when you were there, you had no knowledge of the Serpo story. Is that true? You didn't know that.
I didn't know anything about the Serpo. I didn't meet you I didn't learn about it till I met you. Whatever year that was. Yeah. That probably not till you wrote the book.
Right.
So
yes.
And I haven't read your book yet.
That was 2013. That was 2013.
Yes. Right.
I wonder why we were so transparent. Why we opened it up to so many other countries. And I wonder what motivated us to do that. I think probably the aliens. I think probably the aliens wanted that, and felt it should be known. They felt that it should be known more broadly than just by the U.S. military, and that may be the reason.
Yes. That makes total sense. That basically, but when you look at the structure of what occurred, they brought the world together before a superior force and said, "Knock it off, boys." Well, that's very significant, the way I see. And what they mean by "knock it off" is stop lying to your civilian population, and the slaves. States that are agitated to states of war and destruction have to cease. I really think that's the underlying message.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would make sense. Absolutely. That they tried to motivate us to make it more broadly known throughout the planet, because they wanted to be our friends. They didn't want to be a secret, just a secret bunch of military and intelligence people. They shared their technology with us freely while we were there, so they had nothing to hide.
And Len, what I get from them is what they have to give, which is a sense of usness, empathy, group feeling, beings feeling and caring for each other. That's the wonderful thing that I get from them. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, it does, absolutely, because as Sasha pointed out, there is a very, very powerful and strong Nazi influence in our society that wants to keep all that from us and to keep us under control. It's hard to believe that the Nazis are still around to that extent, but I've come to the same conclusion that not only are they here on this planet, but they're also on Mars and on the Moon. And their influence is even stronger in those places than it is here. Here they have to pretend to be. American and Western, but American. But there they do not. There they are Nazis, and the whole thing is tied into what they call the interplanetary corporate conglomerate, which is a whole nother story.
Okay, come on, tell us about that conglomerate. Give us a couple of paragraphs about it.
Well, have you read anything by Corey Goode or David Woodcock? David Wilcock.
But assume our listeners haven't. So, what are you going to tell people that are just hearing those words for the first time?
Basically, off the planet, on the Moon and Mars, and even on other satellites. There are some others. There's another planet called Ceres, which is just outside the orbit of Mars. They're all dominated and controlled by the ICC, which is basically a Illuminati organization with a strong Nazi influence. And basically, they have enslaved. They literally enslave large consignments of humans on those places. So there's strange goings on in the solar system. Once you get off this planet, I've come to realize that once you get off this planet, the Illuminati run the show.
Well, we've been interviewing a lot of secret space program people. There's more than Corey Goode, and there's a whole bunch of them that are coming out of the woodwork now, and we've been systematically going through and interviewing them. Some are lesser known, but now that they're coming out, they're starting to feel brave enough to come out and tell the story. And basically, we are a commodity. They trade us. They sell us on the stock market, but they also they take us for slaves. We're sex slaves. We're labor slaves. A lot of these people, you think the secret space program, they might end up on Mars or Ceres or somewhere, and they're basically scrubbing toilets or assembling things. Some of them are labs, working in labs. They're doing experiments. There was one recently, she said, I'm ashamed of what I did, but the research was exciting and interesting, and there's no getting off. Once you're there, they they do something to your blood. So if you go out of the environment, they base you on little microcosm environments, and if you're outside of your environment, you start to bleed out your nose and you bleed out and you're dead. So once you're there, you're contained until they alter you, and then they put you in a different. So there's really no escape unless you can figure that out.
There's no escape, and nobody's controlling them. Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
And if now, are you familiar with the 20 and back program?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. The 20. There's some people who've been 60 and back. I have 2 or 3 that have done 3 terms, 60 and back, and they restore them back to their original age, and they return them, 5 minutes after they took them. Some of them are being packaged up for food. They market and package this up for food. They use them for sex slaves, and they also robotize them. They use them for cyborgs. Create cyborgs, and some of them will do mindless things like pilot ships, which they're out in space for a long time, the slower transport ships. Oh, sorry. So back to what are you guys?
Oh, well, I just want to say, this is Penny Bradley talks about her work as kidnapped as a kid and so forth, and having going through this whole 20-year cycle of all kinds of experiences, and then being back the next day, as far as her mother was concerned, and all this happened just in the course of an evening, and so it's got something to do with the way they alter time for these people too.
Right, that's exactly right. That's something they have the ability to modify time, but it really truly is an amazing technology that they can do that, and yet once these people who have been through the program start to remember, they do start to remember in detail. So the memories are there. Memories are there.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's the beauty. As a hypnotist, I when a person is ready, all that stuff can come out. And the people that have been brave enough to share it right now have taken a lot of flack. But now I think it's getting more and more desperately needed, and people are less afraid to come out with the truth. Yes, this is a terrible thing, and it's going on, and we have to recognize it before we can do anything about it. And I think your work is really helping that.
Yeah, it's a very strange situation we find, and others believe they even control our reincarnation cycle. They decide who goes back and when. And when they see the light at the end of the tunnel, that's their light. That's not anybody else's light. And more and more people are beginning to understand that do not go to the light when you die. Go anywhere else but to the light, because when you go to the light, you get recycled and put right back here to do more labor.
Where do you go if you just stay there, though? I mean, are you anywhere? Are you just in between? That I don't know. That didn't quite make sense to me. Like, okay, what am I going to do? Just stay? I'm dead. I don't have a body. What do I do? Yeah, there's no real answer for that.
No, I know. It's complicated. It's very complicated.
Right. Well, we're learning. We're studying. We get all these people that have pieces of the puzzle. I don't want to leave Jim out. Jim, did you have more to contribute about what you have learned? Go ahead.
Well, actually, having Len is such an honor dealing with Serpo that I'm just acquiescing. I want to get into, and I think after we talk about Serpo, I think we need to get into UFO Gate.
Right. The Serpo story was a complete anomaly, and that's why Spielberg thought it was important enough to make it into a movie, because it's an anomaly from it's one escape from our control system that they allowed this to happen, and it happened because Kennedy was involved. It happened because the DIA was involved, and Kennedy created the DIA. It could never have happened if that hadn't been the case. That kind of transparency never would have existed.
Yeah. So what for our listeners that don't, the information agency, the DIA, the Canada Defense Information Agency, was supposed to take control away from Allen Dulles and the CIA.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And that was Kennedy's intention, right?
And this was our best hope of trying to break out of the truth embargo that we've been captured by.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, Kennedy. First of all, they didn't. Kennedy was an anomaly. They were trying to get Nixon in the presidency, and when Kennedy won, they were set back in their program by 2 or 3 years, and so they had to kill him, his brother, and his son to make sure that none of that popped up again. And then they were back. Then they were back on top. And then of course they did get Richard Nixon into power. And Nixon had a strong German background. In fact, they used to call his presidency the Nazi bunch, because all of his top people were all German, and those are the ones they wanted.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So you've tied this all together, and you're connecting. You started with your first book about the extraterrestrials, the secret history of extraterrestrials, and then your second book was the Serpo book, and the third book was Alien World Order. So are you working on another book, Len?
I am. I've started another book, but at this point, I'm not far enough along to even talk about it. But I want to get when I get a commitment from the publisher, then I'll be more willing to talk about it. But it picks up from where I left off in Alien World Order.
Great.
Okay.
Great. So I got to ask one question now that I've got you here, Len. About one of the things that the Serpo ambassador gave us, you said, was something called a yellow book that you can only read it continuously, and then it had to start at the beginning. But one of the things that it said was that the Serpo Greys had sent Jesus. And I wonder if you had any do I have that right? And do you have any more information on that?
Well, that was an interpretation of something they said. They didn't specifically say in the yellow book that they had sent Jesus. No. But they did acknowledge his presence, which is interesting in itself. That he was of great importance. But I don't think they ever took credit for him being from Serpo. No, I don't think so. You have to read between the lines of what Anonymous says, because he's not always very clear.
Great, thank you so much. I was wondering about that.
So a lot of our listeners have never heard about these books or read about these books. Could you kind of give them a overview of this whole topic so we can catch them up and they have a greater understanding of what's going on here? Because we're kind of like coming in the middle of a novel and we all understand the story, but there's a lot of people out there probably scratching their heads going, what? So go ahead, Len. Catch everybody up a little bit on what was going on.
With regard to Serpo, you mean, or in general?
With all of your books, yeah. Because you've been, mastering this whole. There's several authors like you. There's Russell Brininger. There's yourself. There's Michael Sala, and you seem to be able to look at the whole subject and pull it together and connect the dots and tie it all up.
I would say that Michael Sala has connected more dots than anyone I know. In fact, Michael Sala is the key to many, many things. He's got a lot of information at his disposal. I wrote it now in my first book, The Secret History of Extraterrestrials, which I wrote in 2011, I believe. I had a chapter on Sala in that book. That book, every chapter in that book had been an article in and of itself in Atlantis Rising magazine. We took 21 articles from Atlantis Rising and put them together, and that became the book. And they all seem to fit together beautifully somehow. I don't know how, but they did. And so therefore, I had to cover a lot of subjects. I covered the whole idea of faster-than-light travel, propulsion, the way the Greys manipulate time, and the abductions by the whole abduction story. I tried to take a little bit of everything, including even Adamski's story, and that became that book. So that was really a you might say a collection of subjects, but they all related back to one major idea. I don't know how. Have you read that book, Sasha?
Oh yes, I read everything several times. There's, it's wonderful. I'm particularly impressed by the stuff about Stuart Swerdlow because he seems so right on, and I love the way you sort of summarized each of the contributors and how they've advanced the field. It's just wonderful for me.
Yeah, thank you. And Swerdlow's great guy, and very much underappreciated and underrepresented. He's the real thing. I think Swerdlow's the real thing. And I think it had to do with the fact that he was brought up in the Montauk situation of what he experienced at Montauk as a young boy, and the fact that he survived that alone is amazing.
Yeah, and it's not just that. He's also his uncle was the president of Russia for a short time.
I know. Yeah, that's another wrinkle in that whole story. Well, how does that tie into this anyway?
It's the bloodline. He's the bloodline. That's why he was selected.
Oh, it's the bloodline. Okay.
The royals
That's
are all. I've been studying. Wait, let me say a few things, and then you can take it. Let me say a few things. I've been studying all these shows, The Crown, Victoria, all the royal documentaries, because that's the Anunnaki. That's basically it. And it's all about the bloodline. So the royals, they're all related. The British royals, they married into the Germans. They married the Nazis. They're all one thing. And they can only mate and breed with a small gene pool. And so when Victoria had her children, she sent somebody up to Russia to marry there, and then they got wiped out. When the Tsars got wiped out.
They're all descended. They're all descended from Victoria. They're all first cousins. And the blue bloods. The reason they call them blue bloods is because they're of reptilian origin, and the reptilian blood has more copper in it than human blood, and which tends to be bluish in color. And that's how they got the term blue bloods in the first place, because they're all basically reptilian. They're all basically reptilian hybrids. That's what it's all about. And based on the percentage of reptilian blood, makes them either more or less of in the Illuminati class.
Well, they're basically Anunnaki. It's Enki sent the royals when he was going behind the scenes. And the not just the royals, but the priesthood. He established the priesthood and the kingship, and that they are his hybrid children. So you're saying that it's a different bloodline, but all the blue-eyed people descend from one common ancestor, and it was about 1,000 or 2,000 years ago. The blue-eyed people emerged. So there's all different eye colors, but no blue. The blue and green's like a subset, but the blue eyes emerged. You can look that up. It's YouTube. There's articles, all kinds of stuff. I'm not making this up. So anyway, they're all related. And Victoria married a German. Albert was German. See, they could only breed.
So was Victoria. She was German too.
Victoria, they were first cousins. They were first cousins, exactly. They were worried about. They wanted Germans early in the UK, but they did. And I'm some kind of bastard line of this. I'm looking at it and I'm going, what the hell's going on? And I've got O negative blood, and I'm half German. I'm part German and English. So there was some kind of, even with my ancestors, they sent me out, and it's like, because I did the Ancestry.com, and I went, wow. I thought I had a lot of different things because my family's been here, but no, they're basically, when you're part of this bloodline, they don't tend to mate with other people of other races. Maybe they can. Maybe
that's right.
The O negative. Yeah.
Janet, let me ask you something. And Janet and Sasha and Jim, how do you suppose they're able to do this 20 and back thing? How can they just suddenly take you away and then bring you back to the point right after they first took you away, and yet you've lived 20 years? It's amazing technology. I'm really find it incredible they're able to do that.
You can get an idea of it. One of the things that Russell Brenninger tells me is he's an EMT, emergency medical guy, and he says you could be preparing somebody for an operation. You give them this drug that we have, that our anesthesiologists have. They'll be saying a sentence. In the middle of the sentence, they'll stop. They'll go unconscious, and then in the operation, the doctor can actually pose to this person who's unconscious questions. How does this feel? And the person will respond in the here and now. And then, as the drug wears off in the recovery room, the first thing that happens is that patient finishes the sentence that he was making before the drug hit him. That's our technology that our doctors can do now. So it's the same kind of thing. That's what it's, that's what it is.
Yeah.
They can do that.
I know. It's amazing. It's amazing. Truly amazing.
And I think they have soul transference. I was just listening to one of my whistleblowers yesterday, and this person said that part of it, when there were people that would not comply, they were first sent to the center of the ship, right? They had the bowels of the ship, right? And if they still would not comply and obeyed, they took them and sent them to they could send them to lesser forms, but she went over to this dog kennel, and they said, "Oh, don't go over there." And she was trying to go over there, and she looked in and she recognized it was somebody that she knew that had been sent to this punishment. And there they were in dog form, and she's looking right at him, and she recognized him, and the dog recognized her, and she went, "Oh my God!" So it's when you think you've heard it all, it's like, I know it sounds hilarious, but it's like it's not funny. If they could take you and put you into other forms, which is what. Okay, so you're laughing. Go ahead. The alien interview, and I forget the man's name. I interviewed him 3 or 4 times. In the book Alien Interview, which was about the nurse that came forth with all the story, that she interviewed the gray that survived the Roswell crash. Those are avatars.
Yeah, right, exactly. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So our human bodies are just avatars. So they can regenerate it. Maybe people are being put back in clones. Maybe they're just we don't know what's really going on, but
I covered that in my new book, Alien World Order, in the first third of the book, how the reptilians have been doing that. How the reptilians have been doing that for thousands of years on other worlds, and that's how they brought that technology over here, the same technology.
The Anunnaki knew how to bring back the dead. The
Anunnaki were reptilians, weren't they? Weren't they reptilians?
No, I don't think so. We look like them, so we don't look reptilian, but we can have reptilian DNA, which we do. So the fact that they had reptilian DNA, what do you want to say, Sasha? Go ahead.
Well, I think the main thing that, coming back to why I thought Swerdlow was very important, is because he relates how at the Council of Hatona, after the Draco and Atlan Wars had gone on for a long time, there was an agreement among all the parties who wished to make a proto-human, and 12 humanoid groups from different, they were Lyran refugees of various kinds, and the Anunnaki had not yet arrived even, but these Lyrans and one reptilian group contributed to making the proto-human, and what the reptilians asked for was they wanted to mold the brain stem, the part of us that's concerned with hierarchy and greed, and so that that's the way they can reach us most easily if they get us in our base instincts.
Exactly. Yes, and that's how they reach us in the dreamscape.
That's right. So that's and they figured on that's ultimately that they, and of course each race figured it part would control everything, and a whole bunch of things happen. But that's certainly the basis of a lot of us. And the Reptilians are not uniform. The reptilian group that is here on Earth is different than the Draco Empire. There are allies among us with Onizuka and Richards, and those guys made the rescue of the hostages at Dulce. One of the Reptilians from Agartha was part of the rescue operation, and has really proposed that the Earthling Reptilians may well be our allies in trying to save this planet.
You think so? You really think so, huh?
I think there's different.
I think it's hard to lump with all. There's different factions, yeah. But go ahead. What were you saying?
But clearly,
they are?
But clearly, the ones that are allied with the Nazis are not our friends. In fact,
so
you see, and they are the ones basically that run the underground empire. They're here, and they have been for thousands of years. So they're definitely not our friends. If there is, did you know that Captain K, Randy K, who said he was on a 20 and back. Yeah, right. He talked about the fact that he was delighted when the Draco arrived on Mars and the native indigenous reptilians slaughtered them, literally wiped the floor with them. And that delighted him, and he was happy to see that. So he must have felt that he had something in common with the indigenous reptilians rather than the Draco. And did you read that? Did you read that by Randy Kramer? What he said when he said that?
That makes so much sense to me. That there are factions that are in alliance with us, and others that aren't, and you can't judge a reptilian by his claws.
That's right. Yeah, there are varieties. So it's really hard to get around all this and get your arms around all of this because it's very, very confusing. And yet the reptilians themselves have no human qualities. What amazed me about the story that Swerlo tells was the fact that the Elohim were willing to accept that compromise. They were willing to allow the reptilian brain in the final product of when we were created, Genesis. They must have had a reason for that. They must have had a reason for that because the Elohim are way, way above any other ET group that you can even think of.
I know the reason behind that, but we're going to run out of time here. I'll try to get into it real quick.
They did because it's a tough neighborhood. They wanted us to survive in a tough neighborhood.
Right, because a lot of the ETs are so far evolved they can't kill anymore. They can't even hit. So they need us to be the warrior race, so we can protect. Because there are the different factions. They're very aggressive factions that come in and wipe out whole planets and rape and take everything and kill all the life. And so they need the warriors. That's why they have. But now even the humans are so dummied down and passive, and they all they want to do is get stoned and whatever. That they've created clones. So now they have a bunch of clones that they can make the super soldiers. So, okay, we got about 3 minutes before our break.
Janet, I think I'm going to need you to help me out with my new book because of your particular area of knowledge. Yeah, you know so much about this particular subject that I think we have to get together on that.
I would love to, and Sasha's very knowledgeable. I think we
Sasha too. Absolutely, yes.
Yes. So we're coming up on the break, so you're going to have to mute because we're not going to be able to drop you, I think is what our producer said. But what do you want to cover in the second half? Anything particular, or just keep going like we're going because we're doing pretty good?
Do you want to cover UFO Gate?
I need to know what that is. That's one thing. Yeah, when we come back, you can tell us about what UFO Gate is. Yeah. and you brought some films to the Sonoma Film Festival, correct? That's coming up.
We're on our eighth. Yes, we're on our 8th year. Our 8th year now. And
did anybody get some of these good films to the UFO Congress? They have a big thing, the UFO Congress.
Some of them.
I'm not impressed with I'm not impressed with the speaker list for the Congress. Really, I don't know. Have you looked at it? Have you looked?
Be there.
Well, I haven't been invited, but also it's very strange. It's a very strange speaker list, don't you think?
I haven't looked lately. I go for the people. I love hanging out with all my friends, so it's like a big reunion.
Yeah,
but
yeah, me too. Me too. I'm glad Steve Bassett's going to be there, and Bill Burns. Those are two of the highlights as far as I'm concerned. But some of the others are very strange choices, I think.
Well, they should have had you.
Well,
it's
just, we know by the recurrence of Colonel Alexander and his ilk that the idea of MUFON is to let off enough steam so we don't do anything real.
Is Alexander going to be at this Congress?
No.
Oh my God!
I don't see him there. No.
Oh my God!
He's not going to be there. No.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not.
I don't know who these people are. I have no idea who half these people are. What's that?
In the 8 years we've done our films, about half of them have won Best Picture at the UFO Congress. But this year, the 8th year, we're going to step out of the box. After the UFO Gate, which basically is the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program that was outed, so to speak, in December 18th. The thing is that mainstream is very interested in our subject. We have got...
Hold that thought. We have to take a commercial break here. Hold that thought, and we'll come back. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. Use your mic, please.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
You need some more than speed records in this day and age. You need coverage.
Coverage? Oh, you mean them little root weevils that crawl around popping off cameras in your face?
Those root weevils write history.
Many of you know that quote by Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Well, you can, and Event Horizons will give you those truths. So when you're mad as hell and not going to take it anymore from that memorable senior network, you'll know just what to do. We will draw you in and become your news addiction at Event Horizons. Join us Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time at freedomslips.com. At Revolution Radio. Our world team members are Dennis Fetcho, John Ilias, David Dunger, Hyla Cass, MD, Melanie Bridgeton, Jim Mars, Paula Harris, John Trallo, Maria Payan, Christopher Husser, DODDS, Jonathan Orchard, and me, your anchor, Dr. Robin Falco.
If you decide not to volunteer, it will not be held against you in any way.
Sounds dangerous.
It is. Very dangerous.
Count me in.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps. Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it. I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
In breaking news, a visiting Syrian diplomat reported today that their population is evolving rapidly and advancing into a 5th dimensional consciousness. They are seeking peace with all cosmic cultures, which may mean that the Earth will be asked to join the prestigious Galactic Federation of Light Alliances. Please join Debbie West and Michael Hathaway on Lost Knowledge, Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Studio A, for the latest breaking news on the Star Visitors' peaceful contact and the ongoing project of cleansing the Earth.
This is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it. Right. You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Revolution Radio!
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Janet? Sasha?
Janet, are you there? Hello.
Janet's here, but she's talking to nothing because she forgot to unmute again. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. This is Janet Lessin and Dr. Sasha Lessin on the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio at revolution.radio, and we are doing a panel with Jim Ledwith, Len Kasten, myself, and Dr. Sasha, and of course Thomas Becker. You can always chime in. That's our producer. And this is fun, and we're going to come back with talking about UFO Gate. But before we do that, we have to remind everybody, please, to go over and make a donation on our website at revolution.radio, because we need your money. We need to listen. This is the largest listener-supported radio station ever, and we need your donations. Mad, what is our goal, and where are we?
We need 27, and we got 22, so we're $500 shy, and we got 2 days to make it up.
Oh, my goodness. Everybody, right now, go donate what you can. Please, please, please. Alrighty. So, Sash, what would you like to say before we do the second half of our show?
We were left at the break was, it's like just what got caught in the UFO gate, Jim?
Well,
yes.
UFO Gate. UFO Gate was interesting. First of all, our commander-in-chief, Mr. Donald Trump, President Trump, is actually in charge, so to speak. And we had a disclosure. That disclosure was made through the New York Times on December 16th, 2017. And the headline said, "Glowing auras and black money, the Pentagon's mysterious UFO program." And that program is called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. So, who wrote that story? First of all, it was Helene Cooper for the New York Times. Helene Cooper, Ralph Blumenthal, strap in for this one, and Leslie Keene.
Oh, my goodness.
Leslie Keene. Leslie has been working maybe both sides of the tracks. Anyway.
In what way, Jim? How's she been working both sides?
Well, she's been a researcher, a reporter. It does great work.
Yes.
And she wrote
a book. She wrote a book.
Yes, she did. And that was kind of the mainstay of her being involved with these people. What I mean is, think about it. Here is an article in the New York Times. Kind of sounds like Watergate. Sounds like the Pentagon Papers, Daniel Ellsberg. But what it sounds like to me is that that this article comes out 2 days later, on Fox News, repeat, Fox News with Carlson Tucker, who's on it, but on the 20th of December, 2 days following that article in the New York Times, is Commander David Fravor. Well, who is Commander David Fravor? He was the pilot. Remember the Tic Tac in the sky? Well, anyway, in 2004, he was flying his Navy F-18 fighter jet approximately 100 miles southwest of San Diego and got to use the gun camera and took that fabulous video of which we got to see 2 minutes. So supposedly there were 6 minutes. Okay. So the world was told that there is this Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program from the Pentagon and spent $22 million. Well, first of all, you all know, and I think, that $22 million is peanuts They have spent billions, if not trillions, on research and back engineering through the black budgets and through USAPs, unacknowledged special access programs. So what we had in December was a kind of a disclosure of sorts, a disclosure. Well, all of a sudden, the next day, James Fox is on CNN. One of the people we work with, Dr. Gordon Spear, was invited on NPR. All of a sudden, we're getting some credibility for a crazy theoretical disclosure, which to me was like no disclosure. But for the general public, they didn't know. I'm being invited to speak at Rotary, and mainstream events. Just started after that article came out. All of a sudden, people are interested. I have people coming up to me going, I guess you were right all along. Yeah, right. Yeah, I knew that. But the problem is, this was done on purpose, and it was done, as I think, it was a little bit of sheep dipping, it was a little bit of drip, drip, drip of the faucet, and kind of feeling out how we'll take it. Well, we took it rather well. It lasted a day or two, and then it went dark. No one cared.
What page of the New York Times was it on? Do you know?
Front page.
Front page, really?
Front page. Yep.
Wow.
Here we go.
Well, that's good.
December 16th. And see, you guys and me and a lot of our fellow researchers, investigators, and reporters, we're so immersed in our subject that we didn't even pay a lot of attention, maybe some attention. We didn't pay a lot of attention to this disclosure. Stephen Bassett's screaming disclosure, but now he's admitting that we had a little bit of a disclosure. And that's why he's one of the speakers at the UFO Congress, by the way. So here we are with disclosure. Strange disclosure, but to have the pilot that took the footage on the jet fighter off the coast of San Diego in 2004, sitting on Fox News. Google him. You can see him there. The 2-minute interview.
I did see that, yes.
Right. So here he is doing this interview on Fox News. Hello. Come on, kid. We know that was designed to suit. We know it was designed to suit. And the general public, for 5 minutes, said, oh my God, something must be going on. And then 10 minutes later, what's on TV tonight? But it did see the light of day. I'm not very supportive of this. It was a very weak disclosure. And we all know that's nothing compared to what's really going on, as you guys have been discussing for an hour. The mainstream population can handle the truth very well. I think maybe it needs to be drip, 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 but they got to pick up speed. So at our film festival on March 24th, Sonoma, California, at the Sonoma International Film Festival, our film will be UFOs and Nukes, made by Robert Hastings. It is unbelievable film. It's only 48 minutes long. Actually, you can see it on YouTube. We're going to have there live witnesses who are in the film, witnesses who had UFOs over their head, witnesses who got to watch a extraterrestrial craft shoot a dummy warhead out of orbit. They will be at that film festival live. The film will be screened. It is getting a lot of play. The mainstream.
Well, that's the timing. The timing is bad because the UFO Con is the same date on March 23rd. Sasha, are you and Janet are speaking there too, aren't you?
Yes.
So that's the same.
So are you?
Yeah, that's the same weekend that Jim is talking about.
Yes, but
Too bad.
Stephen Bassett will be speaking at UFOCon, but he's
Right.
also going to be speaking at our event up here.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Yeah, everybody's simpatico. All simpatico.
Oh.
So how's that work? How's that
Reality
going to work out? When is it the same weekend or is it different times? How does that
same
work?
Weekend. Not well.
So how?
We
don't know how to bilocate. Can't be at both.
If you're down there to come up to Sonoma, California for this film, it's probably difficult. It's the film.
Yes.
It's Stephen Bassett. It's the witnesses, ex-military officers. It's that kind of thing. But remember, this is a mainstream film festival. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. But mainstream doesn't know. Mainstream, will they see the way E.T. has been screwing around with our nukes and the Soviet Union's nukes, they're going to be going, oh my God. And then to have the officers that were down in the control bunker with the key or standing above ground with UFOs over their heads, live, right there in the audience, right on stage, right along with the film. For the mainstream population, this is very important. For you guys and for UFOCon, you already know. There's no secret.
But this is proof. Now, this is evidence. This is really cool, Jim. This is evidence. It's almost like you say, it might be a tainted disclosure, but it was like the test that Len relates, where Roosevelt was going to go public about ETs, and they said, well, let's do some testing. So they did this Orson Welles broadcast, and see, Roosevelt was, we keep it a secret, and that's when he started MJ-12. And so this Hawaii false alarm just was another one of those things. Now they're ready to disclose more. When you're the vehicle, Jim, you and your film are going to do it for mainstream America. This is really cool.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Robert Hastings, who made this film, if he's listening, Robert, you did an unbelievable job. This is a well-made film. You guys need to watch it. You can see it on YouTube. UFO
I'm gonna
48.
I'm gonna watch it.
Minutes. You will be blown away by it. Blown away.
What's the name of the film?
UFOs and nukes.
Oh,
UFOs
okay.
and nukes. Real simple. It is unbelievable to see this film. Mainstream needs to see it because, like I said, you guys are already on board. There's no surprises here. But for the mainstream, which is like 99.9% of the population, it's really important to see this because when you have credible people that have incredible credentials and had rank and were in the Air Force and they were part of that happening, and they're going to be there. So it's not just the film, but they'll be there live here.
Awesome.
At the film festival. So
let me ask you a question. They may have covered this, but probably not going to take about a year before it gets. So we were here in Hawaii that wonderful day on the 13th of January when the alarm went off on my phones, and it was quite surreal. It was like, okay, are we going to die in 15 minutes? There was no time to go anywhere. It's like, well, I think I just stay here and hug my kitties and we'll all die together. And so that night, I was so frustrated and destabilized by that. And then I had a download from my ET friends, and they said it was a submarine that launched it. It was intended to start World War III, and of course we know that our buddies shot it down because there's a good faction of the ETs. And they were very clearly communicating. They were telling me.
What's that?
Let me just finish, Sasha, and then you can talk. I about the CIA, but what they were telling me is that it was just like 9/11. It was started by the U.S. factions, so with an excuse to launch against North Korea, and Kim Jong, however you pronounce his name. So I woke up and I was pissed, and I posted it on Facebook, and I said, "This is personal," because I suffered from PTSD for 48 hours, and I know what PTSD is because I have clients, and I know when they're suffering from it. And so I had the effects of PTSD, and it kind of feels like you're almost like your adrenals are stuck on high. Your fight or flight response is stuck on high, and there's nowhere to go, and you can't stop it until it just runs its course. So then, about 6 days later, Michael Solo comes up, and what's his name in Vegas? John Lear.
Robert Bigelow? Okay.
No, John Lear and Robert Solo, both Michael Solo, both posted articles that it was some kind of Mossad or something, and they didn't really fly. They were trying to make it like a World War II vehicle, and blah blah blah. No, they can. The U.S., whoever they are, the powers that be, whatever, the Illuminati, they can launch from anywhere and make it look like anybody. I mean, it's going to be blown to smithereens. Nobody's going to, they took away the remains of Twin Towers. They're not going to track that one down, what the average human being. So anyway, I just got it was total bullshit. But is there anything you're saying that the UFOs and nukes? What's with the title? Explain that, please.
UFOs and nukes.
Yes.
That's it. Go ahead and watch it later. You'll totally like it. It is so professionally made, so professionally put together. I mean, this guy did an unbelievable job. And he used the National Press Club in 2010, and he had about 20 or 15 witnesses from the film, other things, Robert Salas, et cetera, and so forth. And there they were. He had them right there at the National Press Club. This is way before the movie. The movie was made last year.
Right.
About a year ago. So it's recent.
Yes.
But it's a film that is digestible, easy to understand, with a lot of authority, with a lot of these retired Air Force military officers with substantial rank that had the key to end the world, sitting there on camera saying, absolutely happened. Absolutely, they were over our site, scanning the warhead. And
so could they have? So they could have shot down. So that what they said was it was a high-angle missile. So it came down from above. So they really launched it high up, and then it was going to come down. And apparently, it was off the coast of Maui. It wasn't going to go to Honolulu. It was going to be. It was coming here. And
are you saying that we shot that it was a missile and we shot it down? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that the ET shot it down. My information, and I have no way to prove this, but that the people, because the E2s do not want us to have a nuke because it affects them. Not that they're totally altruistic and they want to save humanity, but it affects the entirety of the continuum in a negative way. Go ahead, Sasha.
Michael Sala reviewed the evidence, and it could not have been an Israeli sub because of the angle that it hit and so forth. But he concluded that the most likely thing was a black budget CIA operation that was designed to trigger this war against Kim Un, but that it was our anti-missile defense that shot it down. Who knows? But that's this kind of a speculation. What one has learned is that whenever there's a dramatic event, I ask what else is happening. Like the Twin Towers, where anyone examines the evidence again and again, people have shown, oh my gosh, it could not have been this bullshit that they're putting down, but it was detonated and so forth. And our government stood down as part of the whole plot. And it's like that with disclosure too. What can we do? We know this is coming down. We know we're in jeopardy. We know there's this huge war for our planet and our souls. What can we do?
Well, is that why it took 38 minutes to announce that it was a fake alarm? Is that why? Because
yes, because if it really was the janitor hitting the button by mistake or something, or even a clerk doing the wrong one, they would have said immediately, "Oh, sorry," and it would have come through. It took almost an hour to get the message back in our phones again.
Yeah, I know. So that explains the 38-minute delay then.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting. Very interesting.
And people had started seeing a collision, an explosion in the sky, right? Where an anti-missile may well have hit it. There seems to be some kind of.
That down. I tracked that story down, and they'll probably take it off of YouTube. But there was a man who said that his sister worked on the ship or something like that, and so it was a tourist boat, and so they had a number of employees and a number of tourists, and they said 100 miles out, but that was too far out. Anyway, they were out there, and they saw it, and they thought because they didn't have any information, they said, well, it must be a meteor, and then something shot it down because it blew up. Then later they pieced wow. Getting this signal in their phones because they were too far out.
So the CIA was trying to start World War III? Really?
Not necessarily World War III. They were starting. Other people have told me the same thing. They are just waiting. They have every place that UN has ever gone to targeted. They know they would be sacrificing a lot because something would get through to South Korea and maybe to Japan, but that would be the end of UN, and that's what they would like to precipitate with some kind of agreement that China isn't going to start World War III, but that understood that the rubble of North Korea will belong to China.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. Yeah.
And we can't prove a thing, but I was just wondering if in that UFO and nukes, if there was some kind of connection there between UFOs. You said that they shut down the silos. We're familiar with that story. Was there any more new information on the role of UFOs, and are they protecting the Earth, humanity?
Probably.
In other ways.
Probably. This incursions at these ICBM sites, like out at Maelstrom Air Force Base and Minot, North Dakota.
That's right.
It's going on to this day. It's still going on. We'll have a guy by the name of, by the way, they all have credentials. I'll have Dr. Bob Jacobs. I'll have Dr. Pat McDonough. Pat McDonough, in 1966, had a UFO 300 feet over his head at the ICBM site, and it had the wingspan of a B-52 right over his head, and they scanned the warhead. He said that silo he was working on was empty, and they have these vents. When the ICBM takes off, it blows, the force blows stuff out the two sides, kind of like gills. And they were probably interested. I said, well, why were they interested if you had no nuke in that silo? And he said, because very rarely did they get to see inside a silo that was empty. So they wanted to check it out. And there they were. He was doing his work, and over his head is a UFO with a wingspan of 52. 300 feet, not a mile. 300 feet. So be there.
That's amazing.
Talk about it.
Truly.
I know.
That's really amazing.
So
really amazing. I know about the Maelstrom. I knew about the Maelstrom case. That's an old case, and that they deactivated our missiles, and
right. They turned them off. You're right.
Yeah, they turned them off.
And they were doing, but in the Soviet Union, they did it the opposite. They sent them to launch. 4 seconds before they were going to launch, they shut them down. ET shut them down.
They're playing with us.
Whoa! If somebody have to change their underwear after that one?
Yeah.
Probably.
I don't think it's in the interest of any ET group for there to be nuclear explosions on this planet. I don't think it's in the interest of the reptilians. It's not in the interest of the good guys or the any of them really, because it pollutes the solar system basically. It's terrible.
Right.
What it does is it messes up the singularities that can that allow transport through this part of the galaxy, and it messes everybody up.
Right.
Yeah, they're not going to let any more nuclear wars occur on this planet. I'm convinced of that. They're never going to let it happen.
I agree.
But you see that if you look at it from my perspective, that the nuclear age, with the real meaning of studying nukes was to understand the relationship between consciousness and matter, how consciousness makes matter matters, how consciousness matters, and that's message is not to blow each other up with the atoms. It's to understand atomic structure, and that's the structure of everything. And so I think that's what the nuclear age is about, not about blowing us up.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, because it's all about consciousness now. The whole game is consciousness, and our friends are trying to help us expand our consciousness, and of course the bad guys, the reptilians and others, are trying to suppress it and keep us distracted with all this nonsense that they throw at us. So,
correct.
And so, Len, the thing that is interesting to me is there any way that loving people that empathize with their fellow humans can do to reach the people that have been so oppressive in some human way that lets us all work it out? Or is it always going to be dichotomous, them versus us? Is there some way that we can come together? I think the threat of an outside force, which is what was sort of implied in that meeting that you talked about, overwhelming outside force might be enough to make it happen.
Well, if you go back to the National Press Club Stephen Greer presentation, how many years ago was that? That was the most dramatic. That was the most dramatic disclosure. To me, that was full disclosure. And yet everyone went back to their normal working drudgery life. The day after that, it never appeared in the newspapers. And so they've got us so brainwashed, and that I don't think it's possible unless something comes along to expand our consciousness dramatically. I don't know how it's going to happen.
Right. Well, we know in December it did make the newspaper, the New York Times. So
yeah, I know, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, the thing that you just said is totally true. I mean, we all went back to what's next. That kind of thing. Whatever. But the thing is, when we get disclosure, whatever that means, is it going to be a 9/11 disclosure, or is it going to be an honest, straightforward, honest disclosure? And is it going to be?
Well, if it comes from the president, everyone will call it fake news.
Of course.
Janet, we're getting a lot of banging in your background.
Okay, somebody's doing construction. I'll mute.
Government always twists things around to serve itself.
Right,
you can expect
exactly.
Disclosure will be full of bullshit and screened from the kind of journalistic examination that we like to do on stuff.
Well, the only way there can be disclosure is if the ETs are behind it. The only ones that can make true disclosure would be the ETs themselves. It's never going to be a human thing. I don't think. Too many people have an agenda to prevent it from happening. But if the ETs want to do it, they can do it.
Correct.
I think they are going to do it. I think they're doing it. I think that's what's happening more and more and more. And these clouded hints that we get are hints that well, you ready for some more? You're ready for some more? You're ready for a big display?
Yeah,
I hope
exactly.
That there are multiple, as we know, there are multiple species that are engaging this planet.
Right, exactly.
One of them, or more than one of them, are taking us for their hybrid program. They don't want to disclose anything.
Exactly. That's right.
They got business to do.
Right.
Yeah, they got the program going. They're not going to be the ones to go, "Hey kids, here we are." No,
but so the Pleiadians and the good guys in the white hats, their job is not to make it obvious to us. Their job is to expand our consciousness, and that's what they're doing, because that's the only hope for us, really. The human race has to expand its consciousness, and they can't do it for us. They're non-interventionists, and if we don't do it ourselves, we're doomed. We're doomed.
Right. I think
and you know what? It's really worth looking at the hybridization hypothesis. Susie Hansen and others talk about. The hybrid program has gone to the point where hybrid children are among us right now, and they're not a curse but a blessing, because they bring with us the Zeta Reticula Gray's ability to empathize with one another, with other beings, and they also have our wonderful imaginative spirit too. And so that instead of the hybrids are here, they're in positions of responsibility in the society right now, and we got to love them. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's a complicated issue, though, because if they have a high component of reptilian blood, they're not going to be interested in helping us, really. They're going to be interested in introducing a social situation through artificial intelligence that will allow the reptilians to take over. That's my point of view. I'm willing to discuss it because, I don't want to be dogmatic about it, but that's the way I look at it.
You may be right. I don't think in our lifetime the four of us are going to see disclosure.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it'll be my lifetime.
Won't be mine.
Yeah. Well, we've got to.
Let's take it.
What is disclosure? Everyone has already seen UFOs in the sky. Everyone's seen them. Everyone knows about them. The movies have been made. What really is disclosure? What is disclosure?
Okay. Disclosure right now, you can get disclosure right now by just going inside, by opening your mind, by meditating on yourself, meditating on you, and you just can reach any part of the cosmos right now and understand it. Imagine this is the only time you got, and all this stuff that we're thinking of and worrying about in the future, or think about what we thought was the past, is just something that we're making up, because all we really have is right now.
Yeah, and so what you just said is true, and what you just said really amounts to expanding our consciousness, doesn't it? Isn't that basically what it is?
That's it.
If that's our only expansion of consciousness is the only answer.
Yes.
Right. But in December,
you'll see it when you believe it.
Right.
Yeah.
See, the observer participant is active in the process. If you want to see ETs, then stop wanting, make it happen by opening yourself up, and we keep doubting ourselves. Bunch of doubting Thomases. I didn't really see that, but the more what I know from all the interviews I'm doing is the more people believe that it's possible, it happens. And they, I come into my bedroom, and it's daylight, and I'm just sitting there, and they communicate with me, and I wake up and I go, oh my goodness, you're here. And we have these full-on dialogues. They appear about 10 feet above my deck, my big deck here, and they just hover there for 15, 20 minutes until I say, okay, well, I'm going to go now. And they did that when I was a kid, and I doubted for a while in the middle there, But now that I'm older, it's like, okay, they're back. And this happens to a lot of people. I'm not the only one.
Yeah, it does. I know it does. I'm sure it does.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering what happened in December with the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program that went from 2007 to 2012. Why did it stop? What did they find out? They showed us film. They said, look, Tic Tacs flying around, doing things that are unbelievable. And then it just went south. It was over. So they gave us a taste. And that was.
Well, what about what the Chinese are showing us on the moon? What about the photographs and the videos from the moon sent out by the Chinese? That doesn't seem to be making anybody cracking the consciousness. I mean, that is amazing, truly amazing, and yet nobody says a word about it.
Well, everybody's just too busy doing their thing.
Exactly.
They're all looking in their phones.
Yeah.
So is this a YouTube we can look at? Do you have the link or the name for the Chinese moon stuff?
Chang?
It's the Chang. It's the Chang. Yeah, the Chang 3. They're going to put up the Chang 4 this year.
The rabbit.
The Chang 4 is going up. Yeah, the rabbit. That's right. The Chang 4 is going up this year, sometime.
Right.
That's going to be amazing.
I'm muting so we don't get the banging so much. So you guys continue the dialogue.
Well, the question of disclosure is there's no such thing as disclosure, really. I mean, even if Donald Trump were to announce it, who would believe him? They'd call Donald Trump fake news. So I don't know. I don't know the answer.
I don't know either. There is no answer. But that's why a film like UFOs and Nukes is very important. But unfortunately, it's conceived
the answer is
it's on YouTube.
The answer is that there isn't any answer. What we're doing is seeing what our question is. That we are posing these particular moral dilemmas for ourselves and for all humanity, and I think that's what we're really doing.
Yeah, that's helpful, of course. But as long as the entire human race, as long as 50% of the human race is living under the poverty level, that's all they're going to be interested in. They're not going to be looking up at the skies. They're going to be wondering where they're going to get their next meal from, and that's as long as they keep us in poverty and in hunger. As long as they can keep us that way, there's no danger. There's no danger there, for disclosure, because there's too much else that takes precedence. You know what I'm saying?
It's so easy for us to feed everybody with the technology that's been withheld from us. We could make everybody healthy and educated and free if we didn't spend money on killing.
Exactly.
Big money. Big money.
Or building a useless wall on the southern border for $25 billion.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Right. I don't know who.
I just pulled up. Go ahead. I was going to say I was looking for that the UFOs and nukes, and it said was a different Hawaii destroyed yesterday in an alternative reality. So I said that I said I don't even know if I'm dead. Maybe I'm dead. Maybe the nuke killed me. I don't know. Okay, sorry. That was just interesting.
So is that out on YouTube? Is that movie out on YouTube now? UFOs and Nukes?
Yes.
Is it out there?
Yes.
Oh, it is.
Watch it tonight.
I'm looking for it. Yeah.
You'll love it.
Okay, I gotta find it.
Everybody says, "Give me somebody credible." Got about 10.
It's also going to be shown on the 23rd of March at the Sonoma conference.
24th.
Okay.
24th of March. And free lunch. We're not only
free lunch.
having the film, free lunch, free admission, and the panel, and also Stephen Bassett.
Yes, Virginia, there is a free lunch, huh? What do you know? How far is Sonoma? How far is Sonoma from San Francisco?
About an hour.
Oh, 1 hour. Okay, well, that makes it doable then.
Yeah, come on over.
So this is the one by Robert Hastings. I found it, but this one's only 10 minutes. And there must be another one.
No, that's the trailer. That's the trailer, Janet.
These are trailers.
That's the trailer.
I'm looking for the real thing.
48 minutes. 48 minutes.
Okay. I'm looking. There's one that's an hour.
Well, it's 48 minutes.
Okay. Nope, there's a couple that are over an hour, some that are 10 minutes, some minutes are 3. So I'll keep looking while you guys are talking. Okay, so we have about 15 minutes. What do we want to cover? We got a lot of people out there on the edge of their seats wanting to know what's going on here.
Well, my current interest, of course, is the reptilian control of the human race, and I think that's still. I still think that is the key, because they control all of the sources of propaganda through the various media. So I still think they are the ones that are keeping this under wraps deliberately, because the less we know, the more we do the more we do their bidding. That's my particular angle right now.
Well, I agree. There's somebody that's controlling us, and so the reptilian energy definitely is a faction that doesn't respect our consciousness, that views us as a commodity and something they can sell. They're about money. They're all about money, and
exactly.
Yeah, we are still slaves. The illusion that we're free is an illusion. We're still slaves on many levels. And what people always say is, "Oh, Trump's going to be this hero." No, anybody that's got millions and billions of dollars is not in the same club as we are. They are. We're not going to be going to the underground or off planet to be saved if there's a nuke. We don't have a ticket. We're not going to be considered. These people aren't going to invite us to come live with them. No, so get over that one. But I've been researching it. Who is the one that's at the top of this dung heap and controlling? And it points to the British Royals, which are the Anunnaki. Now, that goes to the question, are they really reptilian? And I was just watching a farce-type YouTube before we started the show, and this lady with a wonderful British accent said, "Here's some of the conspiracies about the royals." And one of them was that Queen Liz is a lizard, and all this stuff. And she brought up David Icke. And David Icke said that. And so what is the evidence of that? Can we even prove it? So you explored this extensively. You've got people like Stuart Swerdlow. Stuart actually came to our house about 10, 15 years ago. And we went and visited him in his house, so we got to know each other a little bit better. So what are you saying that Stuart is offering? What exactly is he saying? Is he saying that the Anunnaki are reptilians, or they're separate factions, or who are these people? He doesn't quite approach it the same way as David Icke, right? But he does approach the subject.
I think he's different. He's different. I think he does mention the fact that the Anunnaki are related to the Draco, what we know as the reptilians. I think that's basically what he says. I'll have to go back over his new book through.
Yeah, what he says, if I remember correctly, is that, let's wait. It's slipped my mind.
What he said is he worked alongside a reptilian at Montauk, from what I recall. And at the Montauk ate something really weird that would kill us. That was his favorite drink. It was like, some kind of oil or lube or something. He just drank it down like it was a Coke or coffee. But I haven't really explored that to much more than beyond David Icke. And when I saw a reptilian. I have to go to the personal, okay? I saw a reptilian. And at first, I couldn't see his face because I was so traumatized. And it took years for me to finally revisit that. And my subconscious mind was able to relax enough to reveal to me what this man looked like. And he was, very reptilian looking. And I know a lot of people that have interactions with reptilians. They're starting to come forth and say, you can't just lump all the reptilians into one big pot. They're all bad. That they have relationships, they've had children by them, they know their children, they love them, etc., etc. So, and then there's the different factions. There's an indigenous reptilian species, and then there's the Dracos. But at the top, if you're going based on your story that you outlined, that Sasha told me about, because I haven't read your book, is that somewhere they decided to put that DNA. So on some level, we're all humanoid and we're all reptilian, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. And also, I remember what Stuart had said about that actually that the Anunnaki were giant Lyrans, basically, who had gone to the Pleiades after they fled the initial Draco invasion of the Lyran group, and they didn't. They somehow they were this supposed to be the head of the Unity Kingdom, and they wound up leaving and settling Nibiru, which was a breakaway from Sirius C when it went off and so forth. But so that they were not reptilian, though they may have interbred. We know that humans and reptilians can interbreed. So that there was some talk about that. But basically, they are great big Caucasian people. And they came much later in the history of humanity, after there'd been a lot of waves of humans on Earth.
Oh, okay. Now, were they anything like the Syrians from Sirius?
Yeah.
Didn't some of them go to Sirius? Who were the ones from Sirius? Who are they all? What are they all about?
Sirius has, if I got it right, has somehow asked Stuart to be like their ambassador, and their aim is, for whatever their reasons are, is to stop destructive war on this planet too. That's what Stuart's message seems to be.
Right.
He can't get out of it. You're our ambassador. You go tell your story. Knock it off.
Yeah.
What I question is, these species can all reproduce, but is it through the act of natural copulation, or is it through genetic manipulation and cloning that you're getting these hybrids? It seems like with the Greys that there's a hybrid program where they have to remove the fetus and they put extra DNA and they have to grow them outside of the womb. It doesn't seem to be from physical copulation. So my understanding is that the same species, and there was something about, even if you go back to the Anunnaki story, they wanted the children to be reproduced through copulation. That's why they didn't even manipulate to the point where they created a boy. He wanted all these boys, and he kept having girls, and he got pissed off. But there had to be, the children had to be produced by making love, by having sex, and not just in a lab. So, anybody have any idea what that's all about?
I don't know that. What about you, Jim? What do you think about that?
I really don't have an opinion about that.
I do. Yeah, I've been doing some work with some people that have had experiences with reptilians, and what the reptilians, looking at a lot of cases, are they like sex, not just to reproduce, but they like to have sex, and women that have friendly reptilians as lovers get all turned on, and some of the reports are, they're like 60 and they feel like they're 20 with their reptilian lovers, and so there basically seems to be consensual sex that results in children between reptilians and Homo sapiens.
You're talking about the hybrids. You're talking about the hybrids, basically, right?
Absolutely,
Well, there's
yeah.
Gray hybrids, but there's reptilian hybrids, yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And the gray hybrids have a brilliant ability to care for and feel other people.
Yes, evidently they're empathetic. What they call they're empaths, which Corey Good was also. I'll tell you what. The way I look at the whole thing at this point, there's no question in my mind that the goal of the reptilian presence on this planet is artificial intelligence. That's where they're heading. So if that's true, and they want artificial intelligence to dominate us, then that can't be helpful to us. That means they're going to do away with us once they've achieved that goal of the so-called singularity. What do they need us for anymore? After
the 20 and back people are reporting that some of these, one of the uses is to board them, to mix the human soul into a body that is,
exactly.
AI. And so then they become like another type of hybrid between human and robotics.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
So that's happening. So that's
happening.
The question of the soul. Can a soul survive? Can a soul? What are the limitations of the soul coming into form and animating? Is it limited only to like a human soul body? Or can a human soul survive in a hybrid body? Is it 50%? Oh, we're out of time. Oh my goodness. We will have to pick this up again. This is very fascinating.
My understanding is that human soul cannot adapt to a hybrid body. Truly.
We'll talk after. Stay on air after we close. And we'll continue this conversation back later. Aloha, Len Kasten.
Aloha!
Aloha! Aloha!
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And we'll be right back after this message. Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
Your body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. But do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear It's a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting the danger, unafraid, right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
Take a look around, kid. What do you see? Homes being foreclosed. People working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table and still drowning in debt. Don't get me wrong. This country was founded on great ideals and principles. They've all been ruined by the banks. Open your eyes to the banks that are robbing you. You know who my favorite president was? Oh, Thomas Jefferson. Because he saw all of this coming and tried to stop it. He fought the banks. JFK too, and they killed him for it. The banking institution is more dangerous than an army, he said.
We came looking for a real Maine winter, and we found it. We were headed to the lodge. The fire. Really, the only thing I wanted was some hot cocoa and one more foot of snow. I forgot that days like this last longer than we think. This trail, these woods, these mountains, these stories, they start with us. They stay with us. Plan your Maine winter getaway at visitmaine.com.